relieves neuropathy, especially severe neuropathy. Call 877-88-NERVE. PPO and regular Medicare accepted. Get relief. Call 877-88-NERVE.
Chris Segal explains the strategy of the shutdown.
I think once they started canceling flights this weekend, and there were quite a few that were, I think once that happened, the pressure was on. I think also it was obviously very clear that Tuesday's election outcome was all most Democrats really wanted. They wanted to leverage the pain of the American people to help hopefully turn it into wins for them on Tuesday, and they got that.
The Chris Segal Show. Weekday mornings at 3. And take Chris everywhere with the AM 870 The Answer app. AM 870 The Answer. Distrust, discord is not what we are moving towards.
This program is sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
In the hands of honest, patriotic people.
In support of the universal principles of truth, justice, and the eternal struggle for freedom for all people, this is the Global Freedom Report. You can be a part of the show by calling 866-870-5752. That's 866-870-KRLA. And now, the host of the Global Freedom Report, Brent Johnson.
They may take our lives, throw us in jail, steal our property, defame our character, but they cannot kill the truth. And for the next 2 hours, the truth is back in business. Freedom means never having to ask those people whom you have allowed to run your government for you for permission to do anything. That is the birthright of all Americans and all free people everywhere. Are you a human being with unalienable rights, or are you a piece of government property who has to say how high every time some bureaucrat tells you to jump? Are you the ruler of your life, or are you subject to someone else's rules and regulations? Are you going to live free or as a slave? This show is about truth, justice, and liberty. We'll also show you practical ways to live free in today's surveillance society and give you a good picture of how the globalist cancer is infecting the world and what you can do to stop it. Coming up on today's show, the Second Amendment is the greatest protection the people have from government tyranny. We will discuss the current state of the God-given right of the people to keep and bear arms. Also, we will bring you another invaluable edition of Lessons in Liberty, where you learn really useful things they never taught you in public school. And we will embark on our weekly journey into the dirty world of mind control and behavioral manipulation on Propaganda 101. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Global Freedom Report. You can join us right now in our live chat room at www.globalfreedomreport.us, or you can call us toll-free from anywhere in the United States and Canada at 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752 to go on the air. We got a great show in front of us, so I want you to sit back, get ready. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we will start off tonight's special edition of the Global Freedom Report. We'll be right back after these words.
Fighting for your freedom. This is the Global Freedom Report We'll be right back.
What if you could live free from government regulation? What if you could learn how to lawfully opt out of taxes, eliminate personal liability, and travel in your vehicle without Big Brother watching over you? The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, reveals the truth about the American legal system, the U.S. Constitution, and shows how to protect your God-given rights. The American Sovereign provides information critical to all people who value liberty. This 250-page full-size paperback will change the way you live and teach you how to reclaim control over your life. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, is available through Freedom Bound International. Call them toll-free at 888-385-3733. That's 888-385-FREE. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. Get your copy today.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. Last week, we asked the question, if you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? 2 responses in so far. 1, transparency and accountability versus secrecy and egos. So this listener would eliminate the secrecy and the egos in favor of transparency and accountability. The other response over here, lawlessness, bribery, big government in partnership with corporations, government and medical overreach, the 2-tier justice system, and immorality. Instead, enforce the original intent of the Constitution. All right, and now, if you go to globalfreedomreport.us, you will actually see where you can click on the question of the week and give your answer. If you give us a good answer, I'll read it out on the air. globalfreedomreport.us. Those people who seek to rule the world want you to depend on machines to do your thinking for you. They want you to rely on AI to do your reasoning, research, analysis, and writing. They want you to require easily controllable software to form your understanding of the world and to express that understanding to others. They can control the machines, but they can't control the human mind. So they want you to abandon your mind for the machines. They want you to rely on artificial intelligence so you stop using your organic intelligence. They want your critical thinking skills to atrophy. They want your ability to locate and parse inconvenient pieces of information to deteriorate. They want your intuition and inspiration to decay. They want your sense of morality to waste and wither away. They want you to perceive reality through interpretive lenses controlled by plutocratic tech companies that are inextricably intertwined with the power structure of the Western Empire. Generative AI is just high-tech brainwashing. It is the next level of propaganda indoctrination. It is there to turn your brains into useless sludge that cannot function without technological crutches controlled by the imperial plutocrats. They want us to abandon our humanity for technology. They don't want us making our own art. They don't want us making our own music. They don't want us writing our own poetry. They don't want us contemplating philosophy for ourselves. They don't want us turning inwards and getting in touch with an authentic spirituality. They want to replace the dynamic human spirit with predictable lines of code. Our brains are conditioned to select for cognitive ease, and that is what the AI merchants are selling us. The sales pitch is, you don't have to effort thinking new thoughts, learning new things, and expressing yourself creatively. This product will do it for you. But this comes at a cost. We have to trade in our ability to do those things for ourselves. Historically, when a new technology has shown up, that kind of trade-off has been worth it. Not many people know how to start a fire with a bow drill anymore, but it rarely matters because modern technology has given us much more efficient ways of starting fires and keeping warm. It didn't make sense to spend all the time and effort necessary to maintain our respective bow drill skills once that technology showed up. But this isn't like that. We are not talking about some obsolete skill we won't need anymore thanks to modern technological development. We are talking about our minds, our creative expression, our inspiration, our very humanness. Even if AI worked well, it doesn't. And even if those people who seek to rule the world could be trusted to interpret reality on our behalf, they can't. Those still wouldn't be aspects of ourselves we would want to relinquish. In this oligarchic dystopia, it is an act of defiance just to insist upon maintaining your own cognitive faculties. Regularly exercising your own creativity, ingenuity, and mental effort is a small but meaningful rebellion. You would do well to exercise it. Don't ask an AI to think through something for you. Work it out as best you can on your own. Even if the results are flawed, it is still better than losing your ability to reason. Don't ask AI to create art or poetry for you. Make it yourself. Even if it is crap, it will still be better than outsourcing your artistic capacity to a machine. Don't run to a chatbot every time you need to find information about something. See if you can find it for yourself. Our rulers are getting better and better at hiding inconvenient facts from us, so we have to get better and better at finding them. Get in touch with the fleshy, tactile experience of human embodiment because they are trying to get you to abandon it. Really feel your feet on the ground, the air in your lungs, the wind in your hair. Teach yourself to calm your restless mind and take in the beauty that is all around you in every moment. Repair the attention span that has been shattered by smartphones and social media. Learn to meditate and focus on one thing for an extended period. Don't look at your phone so much. Read a book, a paper one that you can touch and smell and hear the pages rustle as you turn them. If it is an old one from the library or the used bookstore, that is even better. It doesn't have to be a challenging book if your attention span is really shot. Start simple. A children's book, a comic book, whatever you can manage. You are putting yourself through cognitive, restorative therapy. Your first steps don't have to impress anybody. Get in touch with your feelings, the ones you have been suppressing for years. Let them come out and have their say, listening to them like a loving parent to a trembling child. Learn to cherish those moments in between all the highlights of your day, the time you spend at red lights or waiting for the coffee to brew. There is staggering beauty packed into every moment on this earth. All you need to do is learn to notice it. Embrace your humanity, embrace your feelings, embrace your flaws, embrace your inefficiency, embrace everything from which they are trying to get you to turn away. What they're offering you is so very, very inferior to the immense treasure trove that you are swimming in just by existing as a human being on this planet. You are a miracle. This life is a miracle. Don't let them hide this from you. You think about that. While you're thinking about that, we are going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to visit with and discuss the right to keep and bear arms. Stay tuned. This is the Global Freedom Report.
You're listening to the Global Freedom Report. We'll be right back.
DOJA, the Department of Government Accountability. This is our citizen-led watchdog task force under American-made action. We're exposing corruption in child welfare, family courts, and unconstitutional federal programs like Title IV-E, the funding that is sifted straight down through the Health and Human Services Agency into the Social Security Administration and directly out to the agencies across 50 states that are responsible for the separation of children and families. And through lawful notices, federal lawsuits, and investigative media, DOJA is holding those rogue officials accountable, demanding transparency and restoring parental rights. We're not waiting for Congress. We're the people taking lawful action now. Visit AmericanMadeAction.org. Hit the Take Action button and join the reckoning.
Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. In the mid-1970s, Second Amendment Foundation held its inaugural Legal Scholars Conference, an annual event that has evolved from its inception into a place where scholars and the leaders in Second Amendment litigation come together to analyze recent court decisions and share ideas and strategies to adopt to ensure a sustainable foundation for further future victories. In 1986, SAF, along with the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, held the first annual Gun Rights Policy Conference, a gathering of individuals interested and or involved in national, state, and local pro-gun organizations, allowing for the free exchange of ideas and collaboration of strategies while recapping the prior year's wins and losses in the legislative and legal worlds. Both of these conferences continue to this day, drawing esteemed scholars and litigators and state groups from across the country, such as the California Rifle and Pistol Association, the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, Florida Carry, Illinois State Rifle Association, and Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. SAF was founded in 1974 by Alan Gottlieb, with a unique and innovative vision for its time, building the necessary foundation to bring a case addressing the Second Amendment to the Supreme Court through scholarly pursuits, public education programs, publications, and legal action. Since its inception, SAF has been a leader in the legal arena, having participated in over 260 different legal actions, leading to the continued defense, restoration, and expansion of the right to keep and bear arms throughout the United States. Second Amendment Foundation has also been responsible for the publication of numerous educational materials, including books, newsletters, and journals. These materials include the Journal on Firearms and Public Policy, the Gottlieb-Tartaro Report, and the Second Amendment Foundation Reporter. With more than 50 years of experience, Second Amendment Foundation continues to lead the field in contributions to preserving our God-given right to keep and bear arms through its work. Alan Gottlieb, it is my sincere privilege to welcome you here to the Global Freedom Report. How are you, Alan?
I'm great, Brent. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Maybe one of the best ones anybody's ever given us. And I don't deserve all the credit for it. We have a great staff and donors and supporters and attorneys that do all the hard work. But thank you very much for highlighting our efforts.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure to have you here because, as I sincerely hope everyone listening to the sound of our voices today knows, the Second Amendment is the ultimate protection. When everything falls apart, the Declaration itself says that when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object Events is designed to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. We have the right to alter and abolish it. And what guarantees that right is the Second Amendment's protection of our right to keep and bear arms. So on that note, how would you describe, now you've been around for 50 years now. You've been doing this kind of stuff. How would you describe the current state of affairs with respect to the Second Amendment's guarantee that all Americans have the God-given right to keep and bear arms, as opposed to the way it was when you got started?
Well, let me say, first of all, that our right to keep and bear arms is always going to be under attack by those that want to take power away from us as individuals. There's no two ways about that. But quite honestly, back in 1974, when I founded the Second Amendment Foundation with basically a long-term dream of getting a case in the United States Supreme Court to codify the fact that we do have this right and that it is an individual right and it's not a privilege, we've come a long, long way. And so when you ask me where we are today versus back then, it's light years we've progressed. Back in 1974, there was really only one case that was won protecting the right to keep and bear arms. And it wasn't a federal case, it was a state case in the state of Oregon. And guess what? It didn't involve a firearm, it involved a knife. And that was all that existed. And so through these legal scholars conferences that you referenced, we laid out a game plan to come up with all the things we needed to eventually get a case to the U.S. Supreme Court. And quite honestly, it was a pipe dream, so to speak. And we ended up our first few cases. We won a case in Connecticut, which really was our first big victory. And it wasn't one under Second Amendment grounds. It was one under what we call preemption. The state had a law that said no city or towns in Connecticut could pass any laws stricter than the state laws. And New Haven, Connecticut decided to ban the sale of handguns, and we sued. And we won and overturned the law. And the headlines in all the press basically was the gun law ruled unconstitutional. They didn't say under what grounds it was unconstitutional, but it showed judges and people in the United States that we could overturn anti-gun laws that prohibited the sale of firearms. And then we moved on to California, where San Francisco passed a ban on the sale of handguns in the state, in the city. And we sued in court in California, and we won on that one as well. In fact, it went all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and we won there unanimously with a very heavy Democrat, a liberal Supreme Court, and overturned that law. And so we started with some small victories like that. And then, of course, we had the major case Heller at the U.S. Supreme Court and Washington, D.C.'s ban on handgun possession. And what really happened there was it wasn't really a Second Amendment Foundation case, but our lead attorney, Alan Gura, is the person who argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. And we won that case. And of course, the foundation did put a very important amicus brief in as well in that case. But the day we won that case, we figured we were going to win, and we set up the second case, which is very, very important. And that was known as McDonald versus Chicago. Chicago also had a handgun ban on ownership of handguns in Chicago. But in winning in McDonald under the Second Amendment, we had sued in D.C. because the Second Amendment was not incorporated through the 14th Amendment and was not applicable to states and cities. Only the federal government, or in the case of Washington, D.C., being a federal enclave, we could win there. So we filed a case against Chicago, and we went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Second Amendment got incorporated through the 14th Amendment, making it applicable to all 50 states and all the cities. And that was a very big, important victory, because that victory not only knocked out Chicago's ban on handgun ownership in Chicago, but opened the floodgates to the litigation, all across the country, challenging city and state gun laws. And quite honestly, right now we have almost 60 cases working with the foundation has filed right now today, going through the court system. And those cases could not have been filed if it wasn't for our victory in McDonald versus Chicago at the U.S. Supreme Court. Nor could any other gun rights group be filing any cases either if we didn't win that case. So we've come a long, long way. And in a minute, I hope we can talk about some of the cases we currently have going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we definitely will. Though we're coming close to our first break. So I'm going to save the questions on that until we get to the other side of the break. But I do want to say this. What part of shall not be infringed. Don't you understand? You know, the amendment itself was very clear. It didn't say shall not be infringed unless there are extenuating circumstances, unless there's a state of emergency declared, unless fill in the blank. Okay, it just said shall not be infringed. Hang on a second. My guest is Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee on the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. We will be right back with more after these words. This is the Global Freedom Report. Stay tuned.
This is where the truth matters. The Global Freedom Report. Don't go away. Brent will return in a moment.
A common law pure trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A pure trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating pure trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their pure trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The answer. Breaking news.
A powerful storm system in California is being linked to 2 deaths. The intense weather system brought heavy rain on Saturday, causing concerns of flooding and mudslides. Santa Barbara County was hit with over 8 inches of rain. In Central California, a man was found dead along the beach after being swept out to sea by huge waves whipped up by the storm. And near Sacramento, a 71-year-old died after his vehicle was swept away by floodwaters. Larry Marino in the Answer Newsroom. This is Larry Marino asking you to help send care packs to our troops. We need your help to send care packages to our brave men and women in all branches of the military serving overseas who won't be home for Thanksgiving. Care packs from Troopathon.
Most of the time, you don't receive anything. People go on 2, 3, 4 deployments and not receive one single thing from back home.
Why don't you take just a moment of time and some of your resources right now to say yes to our troops, to let them know that you appreciate them, that you remember their sacrifice.
It's the best time of year. Right now, I've got families asking for support. We need you. We need your help.
I would say at least you were remembered, and the idea that somebody actually cared where you were.
$50, $100, $250, $500. Give what you can.
It gives that person, they know there's some perfect stranger out there that cares about them, that knows that they're there and they're not forgotten.
Donate $500. Receive a $75 food certificate from either Gulliver's or Columbo's while they last. Call 833, the number 2 troops. That's 833-287-6677. Or give online at am870.info.
It brings you right back home. No matter how many thousands of miles you're away from it, it brings you right back home.
Dictate a greeting. Let our soldiers know you remember their sacrifice. Thinking of you, praying for you, remembering you.
To me, it brings me a lot of smiles, and I'm happy to get those packages. It's wonderful because it reminds us of home, and it makes the day.
The care packs are ready to go, but we can't send them without your help. Please stand with our soldiers now. We must hear from you today. 833, the number 2 and the word troops.
The people that put them together have such pleasure, and it's like putting some love in that box.
833-287-6677 or give online at am870.info.
At National Geographic Society, we believe in the power of wonder. It drives us to explore, pushes us to see the world differently, moves us to action. And we believe that today, wonder is more essential than ever. Wow. That's why we're supporting a new generation of explorers to ask big questions, make breakthroughs, and bring the future closer. Wonder awaits. Will you join us? Visit natgeo.org/wonder.
AM 870, The Answer is everywhere. On the air in SoCal at AM 870 on your AM 870 smartphone app.
The advantage of modern technology.
And now on Amazon and Google Home speakers. Just ask for AM 870, The Answer.
Are you listening?
AM 870, The Answer.
This is Mary Flynn O'Neill with AmericasFuture.net, fighting to bring justice to the victims of child trafficking. And you are listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
Government policy to exercise strict control over the number of people allowed to spend its money, and I'm sure you'll agree that's right and proper.
But it's plain common sense to allow people to buy their own paper clips.
Government policy has nothing to do with common sense.
We're walking a path of destruction. Our country is going down for good. For years we've lived beyond our means, but now our debts are due. Time to pay the piper who so long supported you. If you listen, you can hear the sound of America collapsing. We're depression bound.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Alan, welcome back. Okay, my first question now, I'm sure if you answer this in full, it'll take the entire show. So abbreviate a little bit, but what Second Amendment related cases, legal cases, are currently working their way through the judiciary, significant ones?
Well, let me sort of start at the top of the U.S. Supreme Court. We have a number of cert petitions filed with the court now covering a number of different issues. So-called sensitive places where a lot of cities and states decided they're trying to ban your possession of firearms in certain places that are, where people commonly take their firearms. And so we have a case like that, or more than one of those, at a cert petition in the U.S. Supreme Court right now. Also, young adults between the ages of 18 and 20 in many states and federal laws as well, don't let them either buy a firearm from a licensed firearms dealer, get a permit to carry a firearm. And so we have a number of different cases like that, either at the Supreme Court or heading their way there right now. We have other ones dealing with so-called semi-automatic firearms, some of the most popular models that are owned, that are banned in places like Illinois and New Jersey and New York and California. And we have cases like those at the Supreme Court level right now as well. But we also have ones on magazine capacity, where a number of places have banned magazines that hold over 10 rounds. We've got a case like that at the U.S. Supreme Court. And a number of different cases all over. We're probably close to 60 working their way up to the court right now. And believe it or not, about 18 of that 60, or a third of them, are in the state of California alone. Some deal in California with the cost of getting a permit, or the delays, where some people are strung out 2 years to be able to get a permit to carry a firearm to protect themselves and their family, or having to go through mental tests, or have their computer records and social media you look through. We have a lot of things. We just won a big one in California on First Amendment rights for a youth publication, gun magazine for competitive shooters, that was banned in California because it glorified firearms. That was ruled unconstitutional. That was under the First Amendment, but anything that deals with firearms, we tend to take those cases to court. So we're really kind of busy. You could be a major law firm in the United States and not have 60 cases that are active in the courts at one time. We have that alone, the Second Amendment Foundation, dealing with dozens of attorneys nationwide.
And it sounds like you've been very effective over the years. You're not just bringing actions, you're bringing actions in a way that you get success through there. Now, the Second Amendment reads, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." It seems to me, call me naive, but it seems to me that any legislation that restricts the freedom of individuals to possess and use firearms is an infringement on that God-given right. Why are we even having this discussion? What happened to the meaning of the Second Amendment to allow for the numerous gun control laws that today exist in our country?
Well, we have a lot of dishonest judges and politicians in the country that don't want to acknowledge the fact that you do have this right, that it's even part of the Bill of Rights. They like to ignore the Second Amendment completely. And luckily for us, in a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, sort of known as Bruin, which knocked out a gun control law in New York State, but also set a new procedure on how the courts are supposed to look at cases. And they're supposed to look at the text, the meaning of the text itself, just like you quoted, and the history that went behind the initial, gun rights in the country back when we were founded and the Bill of Rights was written, the Second Amendment was adopted. As a result, it's opened the doors for us to challenge more of these laws because it tries to slap down some of these judges that don't want to read the Bill of Rights, don't want to ignore what the Second Amendment actually says and get rid of the plain text of it. And just because they don't like it, they want to destroy it. So as a result, that's why we were able now to bring so many more cases to the courts. And quite honestly, about 80% of the Second Amendment gun rights case law that have been won in the courts have been won by the Second Amendment Foundation and our attorneys. And so we have quite a great track record at this point.
Well, I would imagine you have places that come out and say, well, you can't have firearms in schools. You can't have firearms in hospitals. You can't have firearms here, there, wherever. And they'll always come up with good reasons. There'll always be, well, we have to protect the children. Well, we have to protect the elderly. Well, we have to protect, fill in the blank. Okay. Is there no point in these litigations? Is there no point where your lawyers bring up the amendment does not talk about any exceptions? It simply says, this is your right from God. And nobody has the right to overturn the word of God. Does that ever come up in these discussions?
Oh, it definitely does. But thanks again to that Bruin decision that I referenced by the U.S. Supreme Court, the so-called balancing test that judges have been using, like, we've got to do it for the children. We have to do it for this. None of that matters anymore. What matters now is the plain text of the Second Amendment and the history of why it got put in place. So they can't use this balancing test. Not that some judges still don't try to do that, but each year or so, every couple of years, we win another case to the U.S. Supreme Court, expanding and protecting the Second Amendment rights of the American people. It really doesn't give you the right. It only codifies what already pre-existed.
The Supreme Court has standing rulings that any so-called law that is in contrast to the Constitution is null and void on its face, and nobody is obliged to obey it or comply with its provisions. Why do alcohol, tobacco, firearms, ATF regulations designed to infringe on the freedom to keep and bear arms continue to be regarded as legitimate? Why does this administrative agency seem to have the power, unless we go through a lot of legal stuff, seem to have the power to violate that amendment? What do you have to say about ATF regulations?
Well, partly we're having ruled by man, not ruled by law. And you get an anti-gun president like a Joe Biden or a vice president like Kamala Harris, and they instruct the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to put in these regulations that are unconstitutional. So we've soon knocked out a bunch of those in court. And luckily right now, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is doing a very nice job working on behalf of gun rights and reining back some of these agencies that are become very rogue with regulations that definitely infringe on Second Amendment rights. And so we have the government now working with us in a lot of cases on these cases, not against us, actually filing amicus briefs in some of the Second Amendment Foundation cases that are before the courts now, saying that we're right and the government has been wrong. So we're getting there. Gun owners over the years have had a hard time trusting the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, not just on their regulations they put in, but how they enforce certain regulations without taking people's rights or freedoms into play. So we were making ground. As going back to a question you asked earlier, where are we today than back in 1974 when the Second Amendment Foundation was founded? We're a lot better off today than we were, but there's still a lot of work to do ahead of us.
The Supreme Court, let's tackle a couple of specific cases. The Supreme Court is scheduled to address the constitutionality of Hawaii's so-called vampire rule, prohibiting concealed carry on private property unless expressly allowed by the property owner. Can you comment on this case?
Oh yeah, we're involved in that case. We have a very important amicus brief filed with the court. That's also one of those cases that we're working through the U.S. at the U.S. Supreme Court level right now. The court has basically said they're going to hear this case, and so we're kind of excited about it. Right now, if you have a concealed carry permit, as an example, in most states, it's good wherever you go. If you go to a restaurant or somebody's private property, you don't have to tell them you're carrying the firearm, and you don't have to ask their permission. If they post a sign or something in some states that say you can't have it on our property, that's one thing. But just to say, for the government to say that quote unquote it's banned on somebody else's property or private property, the government doesn't have the right or the authority to do that. And so we're in court on that right now.
So that's a good question, though, that you bring up, or you didn't bring it up as a question. I will. Do private companies have the right to do that? Basically, can they just if let's say California gives incentives to all the businesses to post notices that says you can't have firearms here, can that turn into some kind of legitimate restriction on firearms?
It could. We challenge it if the state of California were trying to encourage that, because they don't really have a right to do that. But again, private property, there are private property rights, and so businesses can have a right to say you can't do certain things on their property, and one of the things would be have a gun on their property. They can do that. You'd also have, as a consumer, the choice to say, fine, I'm not going to buy your products, I'm not going to shop in your store, I'm not going to eat in your restaurant. But they could do that. And of course, we've seen a lot of politicians try to encourage, businesses to do that. This is a battle that's not going to go away. I mean, people that hate guns, gun owners, gun rights are going to continue to attack the Second Amendment every chance they can. That's why groups like the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms are so important to be out there defending our rights, because collectively we have a lot more power than we do individually. And so I'd encourage your listeners and viewers to join with us at saf.org. You can see a full list caseload of all the cases we're currently doing right now and all the activities we're engaged in. And again, joining us or donating helps us do all this stuff. So saf.org is a great place to visit us.
Is it saf.org or saf.com?
saf.org, O-R-G. We're a nonprofit, tax-exempt organization.
Hang on, we got to take another break. 866-870 KRLA 866-870-5752. If you'd like to speak with Alan Gottlieb, we're talking the Second Amendment. We'll be right back after these words.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
Freedom Bound International is a common law service center specializing in asset protection. For more than 35 years, they've helped people free themselves from government control. Their common law pure trust organization successfully protects property from confiscation, claims, liens, and judgments. None of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. The Private Interest Foundation holds assets internationally, distributes funds privately, and does so anonymously. Their stealth LLCs let you set up banking as privately as possible. They offer books, CDs, DVDs, and a variety of products and services designed to teach you how to live free from Big Brother. Call them today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
Every time we object to a thing being done by government, the socialists conclude that we object to its being done at all. We disapprove of state education. Then the socialists say we are opposed to any education. We object to a state religion. Then the socialists say that we want no religion at all. We object to a state-enforced equality. Then they say that we are against equality, and so on and so on. It is as if the socialists were to accuse us of not wanting persons to eat because we do not want the state to raise grain.
I've had enough of reading things by neurotic, psychotic, big-headed politics. All I want is the truth.
what it's all about, folks. This is the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Alan Gottlieb. We're talking the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. If you have any questions or comments and you'd like to speak with Alan, you can give us a call toll free at 866 870 KRLA, 866 870 5752. Welcome back, Alan. Let's tackle
Thank
a
you.
couple of other cases. SCOTUS, Supreme Court, is supposed to consider the matter of a federal law barring unlawful users of drugs from possessing firearms. If the federal government can set rules that, if broken, allow it to violate Second Amendment protections, doesn't that open the door to dictatorial rule?
Well, I think that most of these forms of gun control done by the federal government or by various states and cities open the doors to that. You know, we talk about threats to democracy. You know, a lot of these threats to gun ownership are a direct threat to democracy because it's gun ownership that helps protect our democracy. The case
Hang on. I got to interrupt you. I do not allow the D word on this show. We are not in a democracy. We are in a republic. Okay, we are not in a democracy. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Okay, thank you for the correction. I was just using the rhetoric of our opponents.
I know.
Again, the case we've got before the Supreme Court, it's another one of these that's headed up there, deals with marijuana users who take marijuana for medical reasons. But if you take marijuana for medical reason, you cannot legally buy a firearm in the United States from a licensed federal dealer because you have to say that you're a drug user for a drug that the federal government has labeled as illegal. So we have that case before the Supreme Court as well, and I believe these are cases we're going to win. You know, there's no justification to say that a person who takes marijuana for medical reasons is any bigger threat to commit a crime than anybody else in the country. And if the government can't show that there's a specific reason why a particular group of people should be banned from gun ownership, the Second Amendment, the text and the history, doesn't give the government the right to do that.
What are the positions of the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms regarding 4 cases that all have to do with the right of 18 to 20-year-olds to bear arms? These lawsuits involve challenges to federal prohibitions on handgun sales to adults under 21. There's a Florida law banning all gun sales to people under 21. Pennsylvania wants to have a ban on concealed carry for under 21-year-olds. What is your position on these?
Well, we think young adults age 18 to 20 should be allowed to own firearms, period. The Second Amendment doesn't have an age prohibition for adults in it. We've won cases in Minnesota, knocking out laws in Minnesota. We've won cases in Pennsylvania, knocking out laws in Pennsylvania. We've won cases in West Virginia, Delaware, knocking out laws prohibiting young adults from owning or buying or carrying firearms with even getting a permit to do so. What's kind of funny in some of these cases, like in West Virginia, 18 and 20-year-old can go buy a handgun on the street legally, but they can't go in and buy one from a licensed dealer and go through a background check with the federal government. They're prohibited. Shows you how stupid and ridiculous some of these laws are. We're going to win this case, this whole issue, this whole argument, and it's a big victory for America, particularly for young American adults.
Well, during one of the breaks.
Yeah, I just want to add real quickly, if you can fight and die for your country and serve in the military at age 18 and be given a gun to fight with, but then you come home and can't have one to protect your family with, doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And I don't know if you heard during one of the breaks, one of the clips that I played was a clip from a British show called Yes, Minister. And in it, the bureaucrat is saying that the government doesn't do anything that has to do with common sense. Government's not about common sense. So I think
we've learned that at a young age at this point.
Yes, indeed. Let's go to the phones for a moment here. Bill from Los Angeles. You are on the air with Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation. Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am. What a great program and a great guest. I really appreciate it. I'm one who also served in Vietnam 18 months, I have zero crime record. I came home, everything was fine. People hassled me about, being in Vietnam. So I just stopped telling people. But then now they're taking away, not just saying you can't use it outside, taking away your guns from veterans who served. And when Ronald Reagan was governor in 1968, he signed the Mulford Act in California, preventing anyone from taking a gun out of their home that's loaded or even carrying. It used to be legal to carry in California before that. So you could not protect your family. Guess where crime went from practically zero to where it is today, which is just an incredible curve up to a very criminal state we're in. Hello?
Alan, comments.
I'd like to bring. I appreciate what you're doing, Mr. Gottlieb, too. Thank you, both of you.
Oh, well, thank you for your great comments. Yeah, I want to bring it more to current terms. We had under the Biden administration, the Veterans Administration did basically deny veterans the right to own a firearm if they were using regulations that if the veteran had somebody else doing their financial affairs for them, paying their bills, making their bank deposits, then they weren't competent enough to own a firearm, and we're stopping veterans from owning guns. We stopped that. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep Arms in Congress stopped that. It's ridiculous. To pick on veterans in particular really gets to me. It sticks in my throat. And so thanks for your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you both very much. God bless you.
God bless you, Bill. And Bill, you might contact them at saf.org, saf.org, because I'm sure they want to hear from you and all those who have similar stories to what Bill has. Thank you so much, Bill. 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Before I get back to questions, can you stay with me for one more segment into the next hour?
I can't stay into the next hour because I already have another show booked for the next hour. I apologize.
All right, not a problem. Not a problem. I wanted to know because we only got about 2.5 minutes left. The Second Amendment exists to provide the American people the power to fight government tyranny. However, the government never admits to any wrongdoing and never acknowledges limits to its power. This has created an environment that seems destined to one day result in a violent confrontation between individual rights and government control. Politics does not appear to provide a solution. How do you see this conflict being ultimately resolved? Are we looking at another American Revolution?
I sure hope not. And that's why I work 24 hours, 7 days a week to try and win this battle so that it doesn't come to that. But there's no doubt when people start denying people their constitutional enumerated rights, it's going to create conflict. And I'm not sure that some of our opponents don't want to see that conflict happen. And I think that's quite a lot of what's behind the attack on the Second Amendment.
What's the best way to contact you? How do people find out about the work of the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms? And do you offer programs that involve people directly in protecting our rights?
Yes, we do. Our gun rights policy conferences is a good example of it. We hold state leadership conferences as well. All that kind of information, I'm going to just give you one of the two good groups' websites, saf.org, because it's the easier one, saf.org, or just put Second Amendment Foundation into any browser and we'll pop right up.
Fantastic. Alan, I'm sorry you can't stay with us longer, but I really appreciate your being here with us. I know my audience does as well. God bless you for the work you are doing. It affects all of us. It protects all of us. Okay. And we should all add you to our prayers to be around for a long time doing the work you're doing. Thank you so very much for what you're doing.
Thank you. Sorry I can't be with you for the next hour, but anytime you need me again, just let's book it.
I will definitely do that. God bless you. Alan Gottlieb, Second Amendment Foundation, Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. We will be right back with hour number 2 of the Global Freedom Report. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming. Don't go away.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
AM 870. The Answer. Mistrust, division. It's not what we're moving towards.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. Now there's a way to support it every single day. Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game, no matter the challenge. After a few weeks of taking Relief Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my focus, my memory, my concentration. And look, the longer you take Think Factor, the better it works. This is not a one-off. You want to take Think Factor regularly. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor can help you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF, or just visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily with Think Factor.
AM 870. The Answer. Find us at am870theanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv.
With SRN News, I'm Mary Rose. Iran has said it is no longer enriching uranium at any site in the country. Foreign correspondent John Gambrill reports.
The IAEA Board of Governors is going to meet. There is a proposal that's in the works that could see Iran face further tensions there. And Iran itself still hasn't started any sort of negotiations with the United States over the nuclear program. There's also concerns here that Israel could strike Iran again. All this together means that tensions are going to remain high for the foreseeable future, but Iran is trying to signal that it isn't enriching and is trying to signal to the world that potentially negotiations might be possible.
Immigration enforcement agents are targeting North Charlotte, North Carolina. The Trump administration confirmed yesterday that a surge of immigration enforcement in Charlotte had begun. This is SRN News.
Sage here with my friend Arif Halaby, CEO of TFS Financial Insurance Services, and our special guest, Mr. Uncertainty. Hey, Mr. Uncertainty, how you doing today?
Well, I'm not certain.
Uh-huh. Well, how do you feel the markets are going to perform this year?
Well, we can't be too sure, but that's good for me because I want folks to take risks in the market so they can join me in a life of uncertainty.
Sounds like crab mentality.
Larry, what's that?
Well, you get crabs in a pot of boiling water, and when one tries to escape, the other crabs pull them back into the water.
Ouch. Sounds great to me. Well, not to me. Our clients never go backwards with the market. And when the market does move forward, they have the opportunity to earn interest tied to market growth with higher income strategies for reliable retirement income.
Folks, I've been working with Arif for over 7 years now. Do what Nina and I did. Call Arif and learn how he can help you with reliable retirement income. Call Arif Halaby, 888-99-RETIRE, 888-99-RETIRE, 888-99-RETIRE.
When we get those care packages, it's wonderful because it reminds us of home and it makes the day.
Veterans, in their own words, talking about receiving care packages.
It makes us remember what we're doing, why we're doing things.
In honor of Thanksgiving, help us send care packages to our troops overseas through Troopathon.
To me, it brings me a lot of smiles, and I'm happy to get those packages.
Care packages are ready to go with cookies, coffee, Gatorade, special treats, and a note you dictate. but we can't send any without your help. Donate $250, receive a $50 food certificate from Gulliver's or Columbo's while they last. Donate $500, get a $75 food certificate. Call 833, the number 2 and the word troops.
It brings you to think a lot about home and the times that you're missing with your family.
Donate now to help send care packages for Thanksgiving. Call 833, the number 2 and the word troops, or give online at am870.info.
Tune in to the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club show live Saturdays at 7 p.m. with host David Hernandez and Marianne Bernal. If you believe in faith, family, and free enterprise, this show is perfect for you. Join the group that's changing what it means to be a Republican. Visit LosAngelesHispanicRepublicanClub.com. And no, you don't have to be Hispanic to be a member. That's LosAngelesHispanicRepublicanClub.com. And listen to the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club show live Saturdays at 7 p.m. here on AM 870, The Answer.
AM 870, The Answer. Southern California's only local news and talk station you can trust.
Help send care packs to our troops serving overseas for Thanksgiving. Call 833, the number 2 and the word troops, or give online at am870.info.
AM 870, The Answer.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. If you'd like to be part of the show, the toll-free number to get online right now is 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. If you would like to get on board. Our question for today: what are you doing to make the world in which you live a better place? I want you to take these questions very seriously, because I believe that you can do miracles. Every one of you. You are children of God. That means you're part of the royal family. You are the rulers of your own lives. You are the kings and queens. You are royalty. You are his children. That means you can do wonders. So I want to know, what are you doing to make the world in which you live a better place? And by the way, this question, as other questions, will be posted at the Global Freedom Report website, so you can actually go in and answer them if you like. And the answers will end up coming to me. I will get to look at them. Okay. And if they're good answers, I'm going to share them with everybody. So what are you doing to make the world in which you live a better place? 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Now, I told you last week, but in case you missed it, I want to let you know about some of the new segments that we are planning to enact on the show. Rants and raves. Okay. If you have an issue you feel so strongly about that you want to rant and rave about the issues, well, you call us off the air and we will schedule you to be on the show to share your rant and rave. And all you have to do is contact my producer at 888-385-3733. That's the number off the air, 888-385-FREE, and say, I've got something I want to rant and rave on. Do it. These new segments are designed to get you more involved directly in what we are trying to do, which is to bring freedom and truth and justice to the country and to the world. To that end, if you are so inclined, if you would like to actually become a man on the street or a woman on the street conducting interviews with people, you can actually do that. You can become a man on the street, woman on the street reporter. A chance for members of our audience to become freelance reporters traveling in public areas and asking people about current events and topical issues. The reporters conducting these interviews will need to have their own equipment for recording their interactions with people, but you can get little recording equipment. It's very, very easy. It's very inexpensive. Interviews will then be submitted to the Global Freedom Report for editing before being aired on the show. If you are interested in becoming a freelance reporter for the Global Freedom Report, call us at 888-385-3733, 888-385-FREE. We have a new segment. The first time it will be on will be next week, by the way. Okay, this is a segment called Freedom's Follies, where we will have live on-air interviews with performing artists and fine artists whose works are focused on freedom, self-determination, individual rights, and the principles of Americanism that are the theme of this show. Maybe you're a performer who does freedom-oriented, you're a songwriter. Okay, maybe you're an illustrator, who illustrates, newspaper columns or something or other that focus on freedom. If so, we want to hear from you, and we want everyone else to hear from you as well. That number again, off the air, is 888-385-3733, 888-385-FREE. And then finally, we have a segment called Point Counterpoint. I don't know if any of you remember the old CBS News segment, Point Counterpoint. This is modeled after that. We will invite members of the Global Freedom Report audience to participate in an on-air debate on noteworthy topics. In most cases, I will take the point and the listener will take the counterpoint. I will spend 2 minutes making my point. The listener will spend 2 minutes making his or her counterpoint. I will then have 1 minute to do a follow-up rebuttal. The listener will then have 1 minute to do a follow-up rebuttal. And finally, each of us will have 1 minute to offer a conclusion to the issue being raised. Audience members who would like to participate in Point Counterpoint will need to make to the show producer, who will coach them on the process and schedule them to be on an upcoming show. That number for all of those, that number is 888-385-3733, 888-385-3733. Okay. Okay. I see. There's chat going on in the area behind the stage. I was just checking to see if that was for me. It is not for me. So if you're interested in being part of any of those new segments, you call us off the air after the show at 888-385-FREE. Now, you want to be on the show here now, right now, you call 866-870-5752, 866-870-KRLA. Thomas Paine is my favorite founding father. I love Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, but Thomas Paine is absolutely my favorite founding father. He was an English-born American founding father, French revolutionary, inventor, and political philosopher. He authored something called Common Sense in 1776. People all over the place were reading this. He also authored something called The American Crisis, which was between 1776 and 1783. These are two of the most influential pamphlets that existed at the start of the American Revolution. And he helped to inspire the colonial era patriots in 1776 to declare independence from Great Britain. His ideas reflected Enlightenment era ideals of human rights. In his essay, Common Sense, Thomas Paine wrote of government that government at its very best is a necessary evil. Now, most people, when they cite Thomas Paine's views of government, they say that Thomas Paine thought that government was necessary. When I cite Thomas Paine's views of government, I cite the fact that he believed that all government, foundationally and fundamentally, is evil. Government is not your friend, no matter what it says, no matter what it professes to do that you might want it to do. It is not your friend. It seeks to hurt you. It is evil. One of the famous quotes of Thomas Paine took place during the American Revolution. He said, "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we achieve too cheap, we esteem too lightly. 'Tis dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated." What I want you to understand is that what Thomas Paine spoke of, what Thomas Paine wrote of, was happening around him. It wasn't a story. It wasn't a rendition of history or something. It was really and truly going on in his time when he lived. The things we talk about today, he lived through them. He saw them happening. He saw what the British soldiers were doing to violate the rights of people. Horrible things. Terrible things. You know, most of the founding fathers, their lives were destroyed as a result of what they did and the stands that they took. So that when he says, "These are the times that try men's souls," he meant what he was living through. The summer soldier and sunshine patriot, meaning the person who only gets involved when it's convenient to do so. In this crisis, he will shrink from the service of his country because this requires you to be more involved than you want to be. To put aside everything else because what we are standing for is more important than anything else. So he that stands it now in these trying times deserves the love and the thanks of both men and women. I want you to know that people like Thomas Paine, they lived through, they are rendering what happened to them, what went through. You and I can do no less because what we're going through is just as just as bad, if not worse. We'll be back with more after these messages. Stay tuned. This is the Global Freedom Report.
Don't go away. There's a lot more of the Global Freedom Report when we come back.
Are you ready to awaken to the truth? Birthright, Born Free, Live Free is the award-winning documentary shaking audiences across America. This powerful film uncovers how government overreach and the erosion of personal freedoms are threatening our God-given rights. Join us for upcoming screenings taking place around the nation. For locations and showtimes, visit birthrightthemovie.com. Don't miss this opportunity because freedom isn't free and silence is surrender.
Aloha, this is Michelle Melendez, author of The Deaths of Freedom, How the American Dream Dies and How to Save It. And you are listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
I've done terrible things in my life, things I can't change. I know we didn't always agree on how, but we both hope for the same thing, a just world. If I've learned anything, it's that we can never let the chaos and injustice make us so blind with anger that we become part of the problem. Understanding, compassion, kindness, and love are the only true revolutionary ideals. When we compromise those, we become what we despise, and we lose our humanity.
You got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. You got to be your own man, not a puppet on a string. Never compromise what's right and uphold your family name. You got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. If you would like to be part of the show, the toll-free number is 866-870-5752. 866-870-KRLA. If you have any questions or comments or just want to talk to me about whatever concerns you. I want to tell you why I got involved in doing this show and doing the work that I do. I have a craving for truth. And I believe that there is what I will call God's truth. There's your truth and my truth, but your truth and my truth are determined by your life and your experiences and my life and my experiences. What's true for you may not be true for me. But I believe that there is a higher truth, something that goes beyond your truth or my truth. I don't know if any of you have read Plato's Republic. It's an 800-page volume on the meaning of justice, the philosophical debate and discussion on the meaning of justice. And in it, there is a section where what I call the Platonic chair. The Platonic chair is a chair that encompasses all chairs, all types of chairs, all models of chairs. Every chair possible is encompassed in the Platonic chair. That is how I see truth, that there is a greater truth, call it God's truth, that encompasses all truth. And as a matter of fact, I am just putting the finishing touches on my new book. My new book is called The Hard Truth. And it explores this very concept. Right now, I'm just waiting to hear from the printers. The book is done, I'm just waiting for the final proof of it so that I can proofread it, and then they will go out and print it, and then it will be available. It comes from the premise that there is a greater truth than your truth or my truth. And what I crave, what I desire, is to be able to pursue that truth beyond my own truth, beyond your own truth. I don't believe this truth of which I speak is a place to get to. It is more like a signpost that guides me. In olden days, on the high seas, mariners would follow the North Star because when they were traveling on the high seas, the winds and tides would take them off course. So inevitably, they never were going straight to their destination. They got taken off course this way or that way. And using the North Star, they would true their course. They would guide themselves back to the right path so that they can get where they're trying to go. For me, capital T truth is the North Star. When the winds and tides of life take me off course, take me off the path that I wish to follow, the capital T truth will act like a guidepost to help bring me back on the right path. I crave truth. I value truth. I'm willing to admit if I do something wrong or I say something incorrect or whatever, I'll admit it because I don't carry any ego issue on it. I don't need to be right. I just want to be honest. I want to be honorable. And I ask you to do nothing less because truth is that we are children of God and He would have us be truthful. I believe capital T truth is the word. If you are following that truth, then you are living the word of God. That's how I see it. And so that's what drives me. That's what drives me to the work I do. I can actually teach you how to opt out of various taxes and regulations. I can teach you how to craft your life in such a way that you are pretty much invisible to those who would like to make you live a certain way. You can disappear from them. I can teach you these things. I can show you these things. But I don't want you coming to me because, well, I want to stop paying income taxes. I could actually teach you how to do that lawfully. But it's a terrible motivation. I don't want you to be motivated by saving money. I don't want you to be motivated by the things that the government uses to motivate you. Government wants to show you ways to save money. Donald Trump, bless his heart. He wants you to be able to get 50-year mortgages and 15-year car loans to make it more affordable for you to get your own house and for you to get your own car. The problem is, and this is where President Trump is, in my opinion, following very bad advice, because 50-year mortgages simply mean you're going to be in debt longer, meaning you're not going to actually own your house. Well, it doesn't matter if you own your house. You get to live in your house. 15-year car loans mean, well, it doesn't matter that you don't own your car. You get to use your car. The American dream was that all of us, not just nobility, all of us can own our property. You know, I have never owned a house because I'm not willing to go and buy a house that I can't afford by going into debt to a bank. I have owned land, And when I owned that land, I actually put trailers on it and lived in the trailers, but I owned the trailers. I would rather do that than have some kind of a 3-story majestic house that I can't afford. That's the American dream. The American dream was not about having a 30 or a 50-year mortgage. The American dream was about owning a piece of property, even if it's only a tiny little piece of land. It's yours. You own it. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. That's the American dream. Because back in Old England, unless you were a member of the nobility, you could not own property. You could not participate in the making of law. You were not allowed because your place in life was that of a commoner. That's the American dream. We got to take another break. We'll be back with Lessons in Liberty.
We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Global Freedom Report.
A common law pure trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A pure trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating pure trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their pure trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The answer. Breaking news. Southern California was drenched by a powerful multi-day storm, that system bringing some of the highest rainfall totals of the season. Santa Barbara County led with more than 8 inches of rain in certain areas. Parts of LA and Ventura counties have recorded between 2 to 5 inches of rain. 3 Red Cross shelters were open for residents under evacuation orders. Larry Marino on The Answer with breaking news and talk you can trust.
Whether you're preparing for exams, juggling family and career, or just looking to stay sharp as you age, Think Factor is here to help. Created by the same company that makes Relief Factor, Think Factor supports sharper focus, stronger recall, and clearer thinking. It's the natural way to give your brain the daily nutrients it needs for memory, attention, and even vibrant vision. Call 800-4RELIEF. 800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to learn more. Look, I was a little bit skeptical. I started taking Think Factor. After a few weeks, wow, my memory, my focus, my concentration, better than ever. And Think Factor results get better the longer it's taken. If you want to stay focused during demanding tasks, keep your memory strong, maintain mental energy for whatever's ahead, well, Think Factor is for you. Call 800-4RELIEF. 800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to learn more and order Think Factor. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily. Call 800-4RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com for Think Factor.
Business owners want to reach your ideal customer and grow your business? Hi, I'm Sue Williams, media strategist here at AM 870. After years of media experience, I know the SoCal advertising market and how to make your business stand out in this competitive landscape. Our loyal listeners are eager to connect with like-minded businesses, and AM 870 has its finger on the pulse of today's rising economy and consumer confidence. I can connect you with our affluent 45-plus audience on air, online, streaming, and using social media, so your message reaches your audience wherever they are. From local shops to major regional brands, I create custom marketing solutions that deliver results without the stress, so you can concentrate on what's important, your business. So give me a call, tell me about your business, and I'll let you know how I can help you take it to the next level. 818-662-3770. That's 818-662-3770. 818-662-3770.
Scott Jennings sees a mixed message.
A few weeks ago, they spent all of their energy talking about how this is the Republican shutdown. That was all any Democrat could say. This is the Republican shutdown. The election came and went. 8 Democrats decided to open up the government. And now the rest of the Democratic Party is angry about it.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 11 and take Scott everywhere with the AM 870 The Answer app. Read the latest headlines on our website, am870theanswer.com. AM 870, The Answer.
This is Michael Bolden with the 10th Amendment Center, standing up for your liberty through decentralization and the Constitution. You are listening to Brent Johnson and the Global Freedom Report.
Welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. If you'd like to be part of the show, toll free, 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. Now, it is time for this week's edition of Lessons in Liberty. I want to talk to you today about the legal system. Let's start with attorneys. Now, I'm sure I have some attorneys who are listening to the show, and I mean absolutely no disparagement against you for being attorneys. But what I'm about to say is absolutely true. Attorneys are members of the bar. BAR is an acronym. It means British Accredited Registry, which is actually a foreign title of nobility. Only barristers, which are barristers, can appear before the King's Court. You know that not that long ago, 50, 60 years ago, anybody could appear in court to help you and represent you. Anybody at all. I mean, you know, you had to have some common sense. But the Constitution says you are entitled to a counsel of your choice. Counsel. It doesn't say it has to be a bar card carrying attorney. But that's what they have turned it into, where the only way you can get legal representation is by hiring someone. And I'm going to tell you some things that you probably don't know about hiring an attorney. First off, all bar associations get their existence from the Illinois Bar Association. The Illinois Bar Association attaches directly to the London Bar. You can look it up yourself and find out for yourself. So I'm going to draw your attention to a body of law. Now, first off, I'm not an attorney. So what I'm talking to you about is just my own research. Okay? I'm not giving you any legal advice. Okay? And I would not profess to give you legal advice. But there is a body of law called Corpus Juris Secundum. Corpus Juris Secundum, or EJS. If you look up Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Section 4, it specifically describes an attorney's duties. And there are 3 primary duties of each attorney. The first is as an officer of the court. So the first duty of the attorney is to the court. The second duty of the attorney is to the Bar Association, the British Accredited Registry. The third duty of an attorney is to the client. Look it up for yourself. Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Section 4. Now, If there is ever a conflict between these duties, the interests of the court versus the interests of the bar, the interests of the bar versus the interests of the client. If there is ever a conflict between these duties, the interests of the client loses out. Now, I'm going to tell you something else, and I invite you to look it up for yourself. I have copies of this in my own files, but I don't want you calling me for a copy. It looks up so you can see it for yourself. Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Section 2. Section 2 addresses the client who has a bar card carrying attorney representing him or her. When you are represented in court by an attorney, you are considered to be a ward of the court. You are considered to be mentally incompetent. That is why you have somebody representing you, because you are mentally incompetent. And this is what gives the court the ability to dictate to you what you have to do. You are considered to be mentally unsound. That's why you need to have somebody representing your interests, because you are incapable of representing your own interests. Now, I'm not making it up. I wish I was. Look it up. Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Section 2. It will tell you exactly what the legal references say about you, your attorney's duties, and your status when you enter a court in which you have an attorney representing your interests. I wish it wasn't the case, but I've seen it. I invite you to do the same. And that, my friends, is today's difficult to hear, unpleasant to know about lesson in liberty. Bill calling in from LA. Bill, welcome to the show.
Yes, I got so sidetracked with what you were saying. I actually forgot what I was calling you about, because what you were saying is so incredible. I'm taking notes here, but yes, our legal system is designed to keep us in a secondary or tertiary position. And I'd really like for people to read our Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, has about 22 or 23 things that are relevant between the U.S. government and the people, and read also the first 10 Articles of Amendment. Those are standing in our stead. And after that, they work against us, with maybe an exception of the right to vote for blacks first and then women, which came later. But the income tax was not in our Constitution. I think it's our 16th Amendment, but it's the second tenet of the Communist Manifesto, is the income tax installed by Woodrow Wilson to get us into World War I, using other people's money and other people's children. And Woodrow Wilson and Franklin D. Roosevelt were two of the worst as far as putting a burden on taxpayers that we should not have had. And I didn't mean to take us away from the topic that you were so good at. But
No. As a matter of fact, I will comment to you on the 16th Amendment. First off, okay, the 16th Amendment is completely invalid. Not only was it not properly ratified, but there is no enabling clause. If you look at the 15th and the 17th and the 18th and the 14th, you will see something called an enabling clause. It reads something like this in the federal Constitution. It says, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Every state and the federal government have to have enabling clause, or in states they're called enacting clauses, to make those amendments valid. The 16th Amendment has no enabling clause. Meaning Congress does not have any authority to do anything with the 16th Amendment, which means that that's not why you're paying income tax. It genuinely is a voluntary tax. You're only taxed if you earn taxable income. Now, attorneys and accountants are trained to tell you that everything you take in is taxable income. But the truth of the matter is, and everybody knew it 100 years ago, compensation for labor is not income. Income is a profit or a gain. Income is a profit or a gain from a transaction. I buy something for $1, I sell it for $2. I've made $1 in income. Compensation for labor is what is called a zero-sum transaction. You are exchanging 40 hours of your labor for $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, whatever it is, whatever your contract says. There is no profit there. If there's no profit, there's no income. If there's no income, there can be no income tax. But most people hire attorneys or accountants to do their taxes for them. They are given limited power of attorney that allows them to fill out a tax return and put that you earned so much in taxable income and then sign your name to it, thereby binding you. Here's the issue. If you owe the tax, you have to pay it. You're right. If you don't owe the tax, okay, you don't have to pay it. It's as simple as that. Okay. Most people don't want to get involved, so they don't look into this themselves. I would highly recommend you get a copy of my book, The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation. There's a whole chapter on income tax. It gives the actual legal citings. You can look it up for yourself. I don't want you to believe a word that you read or hear from me. I want you to check it out yourself. You will find that to be the case. If you're not actually earning taxable income, then you don't have to volunteer. Now, it's more complicated than that. It's not as simple as that. So I would encourage you to read the book and then call us off the air and set up like maybe a consultation with me where I can explain the intricacies involved. Because if you just stop paying and you're not prepared to do so, you will get in a lot of trouble. But there is hope.
Can I thank you for that clarity? I do appreciate it, and I will do that. May I ask you another question?
You may, but hang on. I got to take a break. I'll be right back. I got another caller also on the line. Daphne, hold on. Bill, hold on. We'll be right back after these words.
Stay with us. More truth and freedom right around the corner.
What if you could live free from government regulation? What if you could learn how to lawfully opt out of taxes, eliminate personal liability, and travel in your vehicle without Big Brother watching over you? The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation reveals the truth about the American legal system, the U.S. Constitution, and shows how to protect your God-given rights. The American Sovereign provides information critical to all people who value liberty. This 250-page full-size paperback will change the way you live and teach you how to reclaim control over your life. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is available through Freedom Bound International. Call them toll-free at 888-385-3733. That's 888-385-FREE. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. Get your copy today.
This is Thanatos, the Dark Avenger, in Vancouver, British Columbia. Friend to the friendless, helping those who need help. And this is the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
When a culture's had peace for too long, it perverts, and America is as perverse right now as Germany was right before World War II broke out, and our leadership is as grotesque as it was in Germany at that time, every bit. Americans are as ignorant as the Germans were of the atrocities that their government commits around the world, but the rest of the world knows. So there's a tremendous amount of hostility, but the hostility is futile because you can't stop it. So we're really in a bad position. We're at the brink of economic collapse globally. We're going to have tremendous water and food shortages. And you're preparing a generation in a very shallow, frivolous way for the tremendous trouble that lies ahead. They're not strong enough. The boys are weakened and the girls are grotesquely aggressive. So what are we going to do? Send our women to war? We're going to have weak men and women who are strong to a kind of an ugly degree. I'm speaking in generalities, but this is the tendency. So you got two bad tendencies. People are not seeing what's going to happen, and the kind of people that are being developed, it's a bad combination play. It's not a very bright outlook.
I was born in a welfare state, ruled by bureaucracy, controlled by civil servants and people dressed in grey. Got no privacy, got no liberty, 'cause the 20th century people took it all away from me.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. We're talking with Bill from LA. Bill, you're back on the line. Daphne, hang on. I'll get to you in just a moment. Bill, you had another question.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, yes. Do you really own your own property in California when, if you don't pay the taxes, I think after, I'm not sure if it's 6 years or 8 years, they will come with armed government thugs, remove you from your house, take your stuff out, and tell you they're taking your house, and then they'll sell it just for enough to collect the taxes. Do you really have property ownership?
Most people do not. It is a very difficult thing to deal with these days, but I will tell you this much. Okay, what gives the government control over your property, your real property, is that you have had the ownership of it recorded with the county recorder. There is no law requiring you to do so. In brief, I had 5 acres of land in central Texas for about 10 years. I purchased it in a common law transaction, and I never recorded it. Now, I happen to know I'm not required to, but just because I wanted to see what would happen, I sent a letter to the county in question, and I said, I'm thinking of buying land here. Am I required by law to record it? I knew the answer. They didn't answer. So I sent them a second letter. They still didn't answer. So I sent them a third letter, and I added some teeth to it. I got back my third letter with a handwritten note from the county council that said, there is no law requiring you to record the property. Now, I knew that, okay, but I wanted to see what they would say if I asked the question. In any case, I bought the property. I never had it recorded. I had it for 10 years. I then sold it for a mild profit, okay? Not a lot, but there was a little bit of a profit. I never got even one notice about property taxes because the property was not recorded. Problem is most people do their purchases. They do their purchases through loans. I can't afford the property, so I got to borrow money. You borrow money, you go through the bank, the lawyers get a hold of it, and they always record it. This is the problem. This is what most people don't understand. By buying things you can't afford, you have to jump through hoops that cause you to become subject to zoning regulations, property taxes, things of that sort. It's not that you have to do it. It's that most people don't have the mindset to only buy what you can afford. Me, I rent. Why do I rent? Because I have not yet had enough money to be able to buy outright. No loans. The result is I
Yeah.
don't carry a lot of debt. Okay, but
Good.
that's the nutshell on it. Like I say, I can go into it in much more detail, but I don't have time to do that right now. But Bill, there is hope. There. Say again.
Where can I buy the book?
Yeah, go to freedomradio.us. Freedomradio.us. The book itself, it's $93, including priority mail shipping, and you have to send in a money order. We don't do anything online. We don't do any. Again, that's what ties you in. Check it out or give us a call off the air. The number off the air is 888-385-3733. 888-385-FREE. I got to go, Bill. Thank you much for the call. Let's go over to Daphne. Daphne, thank you for waiting.
Hi, how are you? I'm
doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Okay. Well, grace of God, I'm doing fine also. I wanted to let you know how what I'm doing to try to make a difference is what your question was.
Yes. What are you doing to make the world in which you live a better place? Please tell me.
By example, I had help with disconnecting from this structure that they have for us 32 years ago, roughly 32, 33, 93. And I just have been living a very simple life, but I've been on the outskirts of Los Angeles. I've been in the city, though. I have transportation. I have done many different ways of making it less of a target, registering it out of state, having my daughter register it, working with the Kingdom of Heaven up north, different ways. And then the other thing is just the idea that as someone who believes in Christ and gives all the credit to my Savior, my life is so simple that I basically can use that transportation twice a week. I don't own any property other than that and the simple personal, accessories that you need to live. I have had issues more so in recent times than in other years, but that's a little bit of a story. I've actually called you once before about that. But I would say, by example, I send out a lot of information to people to see if they're open to understanding that they're volunteering their labor and their livelihood to the system. But the other thing, I'm glad I'm remembering because I forget things. This republic is being restored, I understand. In fact, maybe already has been. And so the end result, and it appears to encompass the planet, is that all the world leaders have agreed to have a republic form of government for their people. And
yes, and I have to cut you off because we're almost out of time. But yes, you're talking about Nasara and Gesara. I will address that on a future show. And bless you for what you are doing. Everything that you do that comes from the heart makes the difference. I'm sorry, I got to let you go at this point. What are you willing to do to protect and preserve your liberty? And what are you not willing to do to protect and preserve that same liberty? And at the end of the day, would you be proud to tell your friends, your family, your loved ones, your children what you did today? Did you tell the truth? Did you keep your word? Did you honor your agreements? If not, correct any trespass on your brother or sister and do it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. On next week's show, we're going to bring you a new segment called Freedom Follies, featuring artists working to promote freedom and individual rights, coming up on next week's edition of the Global Freedom Report. Be sure to visit the Freedom Bound International website at www.freedomradio.us, freedomradio.us, to learn practical ways to live free from government regulation, or call us at 888-385-FREE, 888-385-3733. We can show you how to protect your liberty, property, and privacy from government intrusion. Tune in next week for another edition of the Global Freedom Report. I'm Brent Johnson, reminding you that freedom is your birthright. It is a gift from God. Please treat it accordingly. God bless you all.
Is still the land of the America, land of the free, right to life and liberty. Open your eyes and you will see that.
This program was sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
AM 870.